Welcome to this week's episode of the Paranormal Lens podcast. It's presented by Jotnix Paranormal. I am Jamie Widener along with Chad Thomas.
Hello.
Chad, we're missing somebody. What's going on?
We are. Kirstin called in sick today.
She took a PTO day.
She did. And we're not making fun of her. She doesn't have a voice, so
Would have been great, but well.
No. We love you, Kirstin. We hope you feel better. We're not making fun of you.
Please,
we do miss
get
you.
better soon. Yeah, there's nothing worse than being unwell, and she's alluded to the household's been unwell, so with their husband and the baby, so it's only a matter of time till it catches everybody. So now it's her turn, and that should clear everything out, and she'll be back next week. I'm sure of it.
I sure hope so because she's up.
Yeah, well, we can say she's here in spirit.
Or she's haunting us.
Maybe she ghosted us tonight. I'm done.
You're done? Oh.
I think. Maybe not.
My.
And if it weren't for dad jokes, I'd have no jokes at all. Sorry.
I'm glad you have jokes. So.
I'm glad you got the memo on the uniform tonight.
Yep.
That's good.
We got it.
So, my gosh, what's going on? How you been?
Busy week at work. I had 60 hours in last week, so it's definitely a busy time of year for us. But
Yeah.
I found time, Jamie, to go do something fun Saturday night. I went to a psychic gallery reading. It was in Hummelstown at a place called Brownstone Collective or something like that. But it was this little building in back off the main street, and the psychic was a guy named William Stillman. Really interesting. He did the two 1-hour sessions. He did a sort of a pre-planned's a bad word for it, but he had clues that linked to people for the first hour, and then he did open questions the second hour. So the first hour, he had 5 things that he had pulled out of magazines and stuff on Thursday night that linked to people in the room.
Wow.
And it was like, I'm looking for somebody who is tied to the name Jonathan, a redheaded bride, a roof, and like he would name 7 things, and he's like, this works 1,000% of the times. And we're not going to the bathroom until you know. But there, it didn't fail. For all 5 of the sets, he connected to somebody in the room.
Wow.
And he picked them on Thursday, and the event was on Saturday. Well, let me say this: his spirit guides picked them on Thursday, and the event was Saturday. It was amazing. It was pretty cool. He connected with some great spirits on the other side. It sounds like they're having parties over there. The one woman's mother was there, and he's like, "Was your mother a smoker?" He's like, "I'm in a smoke-filled room, and they're playing cards, and they're just puffing on cigarettes." And so it was interesting. And I got some feedback. He called me out as somebody who has some abilities, who's not using them to the best of their ability. So,
wow. That's spirits on a Saturday night. What else would you do but party, right?
Exactly. So, but yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. I'm going to keep an eye out for him again. So it's not the first time I've seen him, and it won't be the last. So
yeah, very cool. Very cool. Keep
What about-
keep over the loop next time this happens. Hummelstown's not far for any of us here in the South Central Pennsylvania region where we are. So
yeah,
more the merrier for these events, of course.
yeah, and I was one of 2 guys there, other than the speaker. So we need to get more guys going there.
You got to rep better, right?
So yeah. So what about you, Jamie? What'd you do this week?
Well, work, of course, the same as everybody. Like that thing. Stuff happened. Things got done. Okay, cool. But Saturday evening, we caught up with some friends who we haven't seen in a while, and they are both Air Force veterans. So I couldn't help but ask, because there's been a lot of stuff in the news lately about UFOs and stuff that we talk about here, and they know what I do. So like it's part of the thread of our conversation anyway.
Right.
But I said, hey guys, when you're in your service time, have you ever seen any UFOs or UAPs or anything unusual? And they both looked at each other for a quick second, and they're like, no. And I was like, well, are you getting your story straight or not? And they were not pilots. They were ground personnel, and not everybody's even outside. But bases are out in the open. They're in open space areas.
Right.
And I know they were stationed in the northern tier quite a bit. So, there's more opportunity. And I said, well, it's one of those things, and we talked about this here before. But when there's just an open night sky without light pollution, you see things you don't normally see anyway. So, and they're like, yeah, of course, satellites and this and that. So I just wanted to prod a little bit, just test them. But they wouldn't come out. Maybe they weren't allowed to. I don't know. Maybe it's still classified.
Right.
And then Saturday I went and helped my brother. Has a very old house, and not this old house like that, the TV show, but it's pretty old. And they had an attic renovated, and they needed to finish like the crawl space, putting some paneling in there. So we did that. And I am too old to fold myself into spaces like that anymore. And try to manipulate tools and equipment and materials. So I'm like I guess today's second day sore, if you know what that is. So, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be third day and fourth day sore as well.
Was it worse when we were over in the house in Waynesboro? Remember?
I did not get to that one.
Yeah, you did.
No,
isn't it? Which would the 1810 or not the 1810 house? The you stayed.
Waynesboro. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking of the house up the river that I did not get to.
Right.
No, it was way worse than that. That's not even a crawl space. That was just like a walk-in closet in the area we were in there.
So this was a real true
one of those doors that's only 3 feet tall. You got to roll in there. They had insulation put up on the in the rehab. They had the insulation put in, but then they needed to cover it, and they never put that in the scope of work. So there we are, he and I, and it's like Dumb and Dumber trying to figure out stuff. Chris, if you're listening, I'm sorry, buddy, but it's true. You know it. But it's just one of those things where it didn't take a lot, and it probably would have been a lot quicker if we actually knew what we were doing. But first of all, I'm free labor, so it was all good. And I got treated to breakfast, so that's even better.
That's good. Speaking of renovations, my dad had a new roof put on his house.
Yes.
Didn't I was there for a little bit. Didn't notice too much activity going on, but they got to get used to it.
We got to keep an eye on this. And that's what I was going to say too. With this house, as aged as it is, here we did all this very nice renovation in their attic. I keep asking if there's anything weird happening in their house. He's like, "What do you mean?"
Right. Why would you? Yeah.
I'm not trying to cue you, but pay attention.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Dad's house is from 1858, and this is the first time it had a new roof put on it because it was slate originally.
Wow.
And he put a new. He didn't replace it with slate because that would have been astronomical.
Yes.
He replaced it with a slate looking rubber roof. These panels are made out of rubber tires, 70% recycled.
That's fantastic.
And they're like hard panels that snap together. I'm really impressed, and it looks amazing.
Very cool.
Good job, Dad. Looks good.
Good choice. And
So
it's
anyway,
friendly price.
But talking about old houses.
Yeah, we're going to talk about one, right? So, I'm excited for this episode. Before we get there, let's catch up on a couple comments. So, Bert's checked in. He says, "Hi, hey guys," and a shout out to Kirstin. Hope she feels better soon.
Mm-hmm.
And our good friend John Covey's joined us. Hey, John.
Hey, John. Good to see you.
Said, hi there. Hope you guys are doing well. We are. And we hope the same for you, sir. Good to see you. Thanks for coming.
We have to get together with John again one of these days.
Yeah, we should. He's not been here with us for quite a while, so let's book it. Mm-hmm. John, have your people call our people, or our people call your people. Make the magic happen. All right. So tonight, we're going to take a trip. We're going to hop in the paranormal plane. We're going to leave I'll probably have to leave out of Philadelphia for this one. It's an international flight. Maybe roll up to New York and head out of JFK maybe, or some LaGuardia. We're going to go
Oh,
all the way over to Australia.
wow. Look at that.
Yeah. So where are we in the world? We are in New South Wales, Australia, and we're in the town of Junee, which is about 4.5 hours southwest of Sydney. And first slide there shows it on the map. It's usually I try to blow this out and like catch a lot of territory, but Australia is just so freaking big.
Uh-huh.
Anything wider wouldn't have got any better. But it is a whole nother country. It's a whole nother continent. So we are going down under tonight,
Hmm.
and we're going to talk about the Monte Cristo Homestead. So let's get to it. All right. So the Monte Cristo Homestead, located in the small rural town of Junee, New South Wales, Australia, is one of the most well-preserved historic homes in the entire country. Built in 1885, the homestead stands as a lasting reminder of Australia's colonial past, reflecting both the opportunities and hardships of life during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Its story begins with the man who built it, Christopher William Crawley, whose success helped shape not only the property itself, but also the development of the surrounding town. Before the arrival of a railway, Junee was a quiet and relatively undeveloped settlement. Life in the area was largely based on agriculture, and economic growth was very limited. This changed dramatically in 1878 when the Great Southern Railway reached the town. The railway transformed Junee into an important transportation and trade center, bringing new people, businesses, and opportunities. Goods could now be transported more easily, and the town quickly began to grow. Christopher Crawley was among those who took advantage of these changes. Through careful investments and business decisions, he built a successful career. One of his most notable ventures was the Commercial Hotel, which became a central gathering place in Junee. The hotel attracted travelers, workers, and locals, helping Crawley establish both wealth and influence within the community. With his growing success, Crawley decided to build a home that reflected his achievements. In 1885, construction on the Monte Cristo Homestead was completed. The house was built on the highest hill in Junee, a location that was chosen deliberately. From this elevated position, the home overlooked the entire town, symbolizing Crawley's status and success. It also allowed the house to catch cooling breezes, which was an important practical feature in the Australian climate.
Hmm.
The design of the homestead followed the Victorian architectural style, which was popular at the time. The house included wide verandas, decorative iron lacework, tall windows, and high ceilings. These features not only made the home visually impressive, but also helped regulate temperature and airflow. Inside, the rooms were spacious and carefully arranged, with separate areas for entertaining guests, daily family life, and household staff. The interior of the home reflected Crawley's family's wealth and desire for sophistication. Furniture, decorations, and materials were chosen to create an atmosphere of elegance. Many items were imported, showing a connection to European styles and trends. The house was designed to impress visitors and reinforce the family's high social standing. Daily life at Monte Cristo Homestead was structured and formal. Like many wealthy households at the time, it relied heavily on servants to maintain the property and assist with daily tasks. These workers lived on or near the property and were responsible for cooking, cleaning, and general upkeep. The separation between the family and staff was clear, reflecting the social hierarchy of the period. The Crawley family played an important role in the social life of Junee. The homestead was often used to host gatherings, dinners, and events. These occasions allowed the family to maintain their position within the community and build connections with other prominent individuals. For many years, the house was seen as a symbol of success and stability. However, this period of prosperity did not last forever. In 1910, Christopher Crawley died after developing complications from an infection. At the time, even minor medical issues could become life-threatening due to limited medical knowledge and treatments. His death had a profound impact on the household and marked the beginning of a new chapter in the homestead's history. After her husband's death, Elizabeth Crawley took control over the home. Over time, she became increasingly isolated from the outside world. It is widely reported that she rarely left the house for the remaining 23 years of her life. This dramatic change in lifestyle transformed the atmosphere of the homestead. What had once been a lively and social environment became quiet and withdrawn. There are many possible explanations for Elizabeth's behavior. Some believe that she was deeply affected by grief and chose to withdraw as a way of coping. Others suggest that the social expectations for widows at the time may have influenced her actions. It is also possible that a combination of personal and cultural factors played a role. Regardless of the cause, her isolation became one of the most notable aspects of the home's history. During this time, the household continued to function, but in a much more subdued way. Servants still maintained the property, but the social gatherings and events that once defined the home became rare. The Crawley children grew up and moved away, and there were 7 children, 4 daughters and 3 sons, leaving Elizabeth as the central figure in an increasingly quiet house. When Elizabeth Crawley died in 1933, the homestead entered a period of uncertainty. Without a strong presence to maintain it, the house began to decline. Over the following years, it was used less frequently and eventually abandoned. By 1948, the property was largely unoccupied. For more than a decade, the Monte Cristo homestead sat empty. During this time, it fell into disrepair. Windows were broken, paint peeled, and parts of the structure began to deteriorate. The lack of maintenance combined with exposure to the elements caused significant damage. The once grand home became a shadow of its former self. This period of abandonment added to the house's mystery and reputation. Empty buildings often create a sense of unease, and Monte Cristo was no exception. Locals began to associate the property with strange stories and rumors, which would later contribute to its identity as a haunted location. However, in 1963, the homestead was purchased by Reginald and Olive Ryan. At the time, the house was in very poor condition, but the Ryans saw its historical value and potential. They began a major restoration project, working to repair the damage while preserving the original design and features of the home. The restoration process was extensive and required a great deal of effort. The Ryans carefully repaired the structure, restored decorative elements, and furnished the home with items that matched the original period. Their goal was to bring the house back to life while maintaining its historical authenticity. After completing much of the restoration, the Ryans opened the homestead to the public. It quickly became a popular tourist attraction, drawing visitors who were interested in both its history and its growing reputation for paranormal activity. Guided tours allowed people to explore the rooms, learn about the Crawley family, and experience the atmosphere of the house firsthand. Over the years, the Monte Cristo homestead gained national and international attention. It was featured in television programs, books, and documentaries, further increasing its popularity. Its combination of historical significance and ghost stories made it a unique destination. For more than 60 years, the Ryan family maintained and operated the property. Their work ensured that the homestead remained preserved and accessible to the public. However, in 2025, the house was closed following the death of Olive Ryan, marking the end of an era. Today, the future of the Monte Cristo homestead remains uncertain, but its importance is clear. It stands as a powerful example of Australia's colonial history, reflecting both the achievements and challenges of the past. Its story continues to capture interest, offering a glimpse into a different time, while also raising questions about how history is remembered and preserved. Now, it's a lot of history, but not a lot of paranormal, right?
No, so, not yet.
Yeah. Dun, dun, dun.
Jamie, should we start a GoFundMe? And
maybe
if it's up for grabs.
Well, it is technically up for sale. So, yeah, why not, right?
I've always wanted to go to Australia.
There you go. That passport will travel, right?
Yep. Anyway, I want to know more.
We'll start that conversation when we're done. Let's see, and let's talk about the paranormal stuff. Maybe people will be too scared to invest.
True.
Maybe.
Okay. Let's find out.
All right. So, while the Monte Cristo homestead is historically significant, it is most widely known for its reputation as one of the most haunted houses in Australia. Over the years, countless stories have emerged describing strange, unexplained events that have taken place both inside the house and on its surrounding grounds. These accounts, shared by visitors, staff, and even long-term residents, have helped shape the homestead's identity as a major paranormal location. Many of the reported hauntings are closely tied to tragic or unsettling events believed to have occurred on the property. Although not all of these stories are fully verified, they have become an important part of the homestead's legend. These events are often repeated during tours and in media coverage, reinforcing the idea that the house is filled with restless spirits connected to its past. One of the most frequently told stories involves a maid who is said to have fallen from the balcony to her death. Some versions of the story suggest it was an accident, while others imply something more mysterious. Visitors have often reported seeing a figure near the balcony area or feeling uneasy when standing nearby. This location is often described as one of the most active parts of the house. Another well known story involves a stable boy who reportedly died in a fire on the property. According to legend, the boy was either trapped or accidentally burned, and his spirit is said to remain in the stables. People who visit the area have claimed to smell smoke, even when there is no visible source. Others report seeing brief flashes of light or shadowy figures moving in the distance. These experiences have made the stables one of the most talked about locations outside of the main house. There are also stories of a mentally ill man who was allegedly chained and kept in a small outbuilding for many years. According to this legend, he was hidden away from society and eventually died in isolation. Visitors have described feeling intense sadness or discomfort near this area, as well as hearing faint noises that cannot easily be explained. While historians question the accuracy of this story, it continues to be one of the most disturbing elements of the homestead's haunted reputation. Now, the figure most commonly associated with the house is, of course, Elizabeth Crawley. And due to her long period of isolation in the home, many believe her spirit has never left. Visitors and staff have reported seeing what appears to be a woman dressed in old fashioned clothing moving through the halls or standing near windows. These sightings are often described as brief but very clear, leaving a strong impression of those who experience them. In addition to visual sightings, many people report physical sensations that they cannot easily explain. One of the most common experiences is a sudden drop in temperature. Guests often describe walking into certain rooms and immediately feeling a cold chill, even when the rest of the house feels warm. These cold spots are often associated with specific locations, such as the master bedroom and the hallway around it. Another frequently reported sensation is the feeling of being watched. Visitors sometimes describe an overwhelming awareness of a presence, even when they are alone. This feeling can be accompanied by uneasiness or anxiety, making the experience particularly unsettling. Some people have even reported feeling as though someone is standing directly behind them, only to turn around and find no one there. The staircase inside the homestead is one of the most famous locations for paranormal activity. Many visitors have described unusual experiences while using it. Some claim to feel an invisible force pushing or pulling them, while others report a sudden sense of fear that seems to come from nowhere. There are also accounts of people refusing to go up or down the stairs after feeling something they could not explain. Another area is the nursery, and this has drawn attention due to reports of unexplained sounds. Guests have claimed to hear what sounds like a child crying, even when the room is empty. These sounds are often described as faint, but clear enough to be recognizable. This has been linked to stories of a child who is believed to have died at the property, though details vary depending on the version of the story. Unexplained noises are a common theme throughout the entire house. Visitors and staff have reported hearing footsteps in empty rooms, doors opening or closing on their own, and faint voices that cannot be understood. These sounds often occur late at night or when the house is quiet, making them even more noticeable. Now, the Ryan family, who owned and lived in the homestead for decades, also reported a wide range of unusual experiences. Their accounts are particularly important because they were not just visitors, but long-term residents. They described objects moving without explanation, lights turning on and off, and strange sounds occurring throughout the house. In some cases, they even reported seeing figures or shadows that could not be explained. Their experiences helped strengthen the homestead's reputation as a genuinely haunted location. Because they lived there for many years, their stories suggest that these events were not isolated incidents, but part of an ongoing pattern. Paranormal investigators have also spent time at the homestead, hoping to gather evidence of supernatural activity. They've used tools such as cameras, audio recorders, and EMF detectors to study the environment. Some investigators claim to have captured unusual sounds or images, including what they believe are voices or unexplained visual disturbances. Despite all these claims, there is still no scientific proof that the house is truly haunted. Skeptics argue that many of the reported experiences can be explained through natural causes. Old buildings often produce noises due to change in temperature, shifting materials, and aging structures. Drafts can create sudden cold spots, and lighting conditions can cause shadows that appear unusual. Another important factor is the power of suggestion. Because Monte Cristo Homestead is widely known as a haunted location, visitors often arrive expecting to have a paranormal experience. This expectation can influence how they interpret what they see and hear. For example, a normal sound might seem more frightening when someone already believes they're in a haunted place. Even with these explanations, the stories surrounding the homestead continue to grow. Each new visitor brings their own perspective, and many leave with experiences that they cannot believe or explain. These personal accounts they are shared with others, adding to the ongoing legend of the home. The combination of history and storytelling plays a major role in keeping the homestead's haunted reputation alive. The real events that took place here provide a foundation for the paranormal stories and add mystery and emotion. Together, they create a powerful narrative that continues to attract attention. Today, the Monte Cristo Homestead is recognized not only as a historic site, but also as a place of mystery and intrigue. Whether the paranormal claims are true or not, they have become an essential part of the property's identity. The stories of ghosts, unexplained events, and lingering spirits ensure that the homestead remains one of the most talked about locations in Australia. I'll conclude with this. The Monte Cristo Homestead stands as a unique and powerful example of how history and legend can become deeply connected over time. What began as a symbol of success and ambition in a growing Australian town has evolved into one of the most well-known haunted locations in the country. Its story is not defined by just one aspect, but by the combination of real historical events and the stories that have developed around them. From a historical perspective, the homestead reflects the opportunities and challenges of life in colonial Australia. The success of Christopher Crawley shows how rapidly fortunes could change during a time of expansion and development. The construction of the house itself represents both personal achievement and the desire to create something lasting. At the same time, the later years of the home reveal a very different side of history, one marked by loss, isolation, and decline. Elizabeth Crawley's withdrawal from society and the eventual abandonment of the property highlight how quickly circumstances can change, even for those who once held wealth and status. The restoration of the homestead in the 20th century adds another layer to its story. Without the efforts of the Ryan family, the house may have been lost entirely. Instead, it was preserved and shared with the public, allowing future generations to learn about its past. This active preservation ensured that the history of the home remained visible, but it also opened the door for its haunted reputation to grow. The paranormal claims associated with Monte Cristo Homestead are closely tied to its history. Many of the ghost stories are connected to real or rumored events, blending fact with imagination. Whether it's the figure of Elizabeth Crawley, the stories of tragic deaths, or the unexplained sounds and sensations reported by visitors, these accounts build on the emotional weight of the house's past. The more the stories are shared, the more they become part of the identity of the homestead. It is important to recognize that belief in paranormal often depends on personal perspective. For some, the experiences reported at Monte Cristo are convincing evidence of something beyond explanation. For others, they can be understood through natural causes, such as aging of the building, environmental factors, or the influence of expectation. The atmosphere of the house itself, quiet, historic, and somewhat isolated, can easily affect how people feel and interpret their surroundings. Regardless of whether the hauntings are real, the impact of these stories are undeniable. They draw attention, spark curiosity, and keep the homestead relevant in modern times. Without its paranormal reputation, Monte Cristo might simply be remembered as another historic house. Instead, it has become something more, an enduring mystery that continues to capture the imagination of those who hear about it or visit in person. The connection between history and haunting at Monte Cristo Homestead shows how people interact with the past. Facts alone do not always shape how a place is remembered. Emotions, experiences, and storytelling all play a role in forming a lasting impression. In this way, the homestead is not just a building, but a collection of stories that continue to grow and evolve. In the end, Monte Cristo Homestead represents more than just its physical structure or its reported ghost sightings. It serves as a reminder that history is not always clear-cut. It can be influenced by memory, interpretation, and imagination. House brings together elements of a success, tragedy, preservation, and mystery, making it a place that continues to fascinate people from all walks of life. Whether viewed as an important historical landmark or as Australia's most haunted house, Monte Cristo Homestead remains a powerful symbol of how the past can live on. Its story continues to be told, not only through records and restoration, but through the experiences and beliefs of those who encounter it. So, let me cite some sources we'll discuss. First is moonmausoleum.com / the Monte Cristo Homestead, Australia's most haunted house. Ghostandhistory.com, ghost stories / Monte Cristo Homestead. thescarechamber.com, the haunting of the Monte Cristo Homestead. thejuniebulletin.com.au /2025/11/06, end of an era, historic Monte Cristo Homestead listed for sale. And lastly, thejuniindependent.com.au /025/11, Australia's most haunted house, Monte Cristo Homestead. All right, when can we go?
Well, Bert pointed out the obvious. We're going to have to switch the paranormal bus to a private plane. I think we can still get the logo on the side, Jamie. Don't worry. It'll be okay.
Yeah, we have to get it like a big sticker.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Or magnet, big magnet.
Magnet. Well, magnet. Yeah,
Yeah, the aluminum body plane, maybe not. So, Stefan said that we're going to need to buy a lot of coffee to pull that off.
True.
So,
very true.
And Heather, of course, was wondering about the lady in white. Where's the lady in white? I have a feeling that might be Mrs. Crowley.
Well, she's not a lady in white. She's a lady in period clothing. So there is no claim of a lady in white.
Could be
it
white.
Could be white clothing, but it's not called out specifically as a lady in white.
I just have a feeling that she's our lady in white there. So
sure. But I think you're safe to say that. So I would think so.
So, as you were talking through some things, it's interesting how many times we talk about a mentally ill person being locked in a place, and how that affects the house. Mm-hmm. And that brings up lots of questions. First of all, it was a horrible way of treating the mentally ill back in this time frame, but they didn't know better ways, unfortunately. Even the house that I grew up in, there was a rumor that the one room that was sort of in the back of the house that had only outside access when my dad moved into it had a mentally ill person that was kept back there. But how many times that creates a haunting in a house as well?
Yeah. Well, this is an error. This is kind of like in the way that Christopher Crowley dies. Like there's no medical care in this area.
Right.
But we are still in the brush to some degree. I mean, it's not that far off of the coast, but it's not a high traffic area either. It's not a major city.
Right.
And Junia is much bigger now than it was then. And interestingly, now the house is kind of in town. Like it's been built around.
Right.
But there just wasn't knowledge of how to do care or care accessible either way. For someone, and we still stink at doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Diagnosing mental health and caring for people with mental health concerns. We still are poor at it. Maybe better than ever, but still not good compared to other places in the world. So I speak to here in the U.S. where we are, but there's still stigma and problems that just don't really need to be there.
Right.
But the thing for me, and what I kept coming up to in my mind at least was there's so many similarities here, and we talked about this last week a little bit with Sarah Winchester and the Winchester Mystery House.
Mm-hmm.
Another recluse woman who just kind of shuttered the place and did her own thing.
Right.
And go back a season or two ago to the Morris Jumel mansion in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Eliza Jumel, once her husband passed, and she just kind of spent the rest of her days isolated inside the home. And there as well, there's another parallel with a maid falling from a balcony there in the back of the house, which I found really interesting. Like, and not to say either are true or not, but, and they're certainly not connected by any means. They're on the other side of the world from each other, but, homes of the era kind of thing. And safety wasn't always first back then, maybe. Not to say it was foul play, but it could have been. And
Could have
records
been.
were so poorly kept. I think that's part of this too, like the fire and the potential for a child's death, and perhaps even the mentally ill man. Like records were just poor,
Right.
and you had to self-identify a lot of the issues, and people just didn't. They didn't have anything to report it to. There wasn't a county seat or some kind of, there wasn't a coroner,
Right.
called when someone died. You just buried them on the property somewhere,
Right.
and therefore, and if someone was there and then not there, that's something I assumed something happened to them. They could have simply moved away or been taken away.
Right.
But, that's how stories get started,
Hmm.
and play the telephone game at that point.
Right. One thing that I found interesting is you don't typically hear about nurseries being a hotbed of activity.
Yeah.
And infant mortality in this time period was normal, but you still don't hear about a nursery being a hot. My Siri is talking to me out of my pocket, apparently.
Right. Well, you said Siri. Now my phone's lit up too. So
So anyway, and we do hear about things in nurseries happening, but it made it sound like this was a really active place.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
again, here's another one that is pretty typical. The main staircase in a house, like there, and again, that main staircase probably saw the most traffic in any room because everybody had to use it to go upstairs.
yep. Exactly.
So you've got imprints of so much time and energy, and the Ryans restoring, and just a lot of good put into this house, along with some stress and trauma. So
You work a lot in carpentry. Okay. You're a
mhm.
creator of things, and everything starts off being perfectly plumb square level, right? And
We try,
then
yeah,
right, in all good intents, and it's important, right?
right,
So, but yet then as things settle in age and change, things become less, and stairs are one of those places in the homes that really get overlooked.
right,
So, all it would have taken for the house is to get a little bit out of square, the foundation settled just a smidge, and those steps just became a little off. And now you have the funhouse effect,
right.
you know. And the same reason for doors opening and closing on their own. The home's just not plumb anymore. How
Right,
many times have you walked into a very old home and you've seen the doorway just be slightly crooked?
right.
That's how
But
much the house has changed over
so,
time.
but my argument there is going to be if a door opens or closes on its own, it's one thing. But if a door opens and closes on its own, that's
Maybe. Yeah,
that's
maybe.
that's not something being out of square, because it would only go one. If it's out of square, it's going to fall one way or the other.
Sure.
So
If if the house is unlevel in that direction, but there's a draft bringing it the other way. So
yeah, you're truly the skeptic.
maybe.
Yeah, truly the
Look,
looking.
you got to take away the things that could be before you can say it's
I
paranormal.
I
Take away
I
the normal, and then
Yep,
what you've got left is.
yep,
So, but but we're not there, but that's kind of one of the things that was alluded to in the early part of why the home was positioned where it was to
mhm,
capture breezes and
yep,
airflow and things like that. This is a hot place in the
mhm,
summer, and a very cold place in the winter too, for that matter. So that elevation probably doesn't help them all that much because they're
right,
going to get hit with all the weather. But I can see that.
right,
Large windows, again, trying to get more airflow come through the home. This is a long time before air conditioning. This is a long time before electricity back in the
yep,
1850s.
yep,
So this home was just it was heated and cooled by the elements.
yep,
And the heat would be whatever firewood they could bring in. But in the summertime, this would have been balmy and really difficult. We
yeah,
grew up with before air conditioning too, in a lot of ways. Central air specifically in a lot of homes. The home I grew up in certainly didn't have it. Window units were prevalent, and
but
we had
but
so many of them.
and you bring that up. The house that I grew up in, like we've talked about it quite a bit.
Mhm.
It's situated on the top of the hill, on top of a hill. It had large windows, typical windows, 20 24 inches. These were two panes of glass that
Mhm.
it was, they were huge,
Yep.
huge windows that you could open. The doors had the exterior doors had and interior doors had transoms.
Yep.
So when you could open that, and tall ceilings. So there's a lot of parallels here. I'm sitting there thinking, wow, there's so many things alike.
Yeah.
And,
I
that,
grew
and
up in the same kind of house. Right.
it was all about keeping the house warm or cool, like you said.
Yep.
So it was, yeah, it's definitely an interesting place. One thing that you brought up, and something just triggered in my mind tonight. You talked about this house being known as a paranormal hotspot, and so there's expectations.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the difference between an expectation and setting intentions of experiencing something?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It just came to me tonight, and it's like, because when we go in, when you're doing any work in the paranormal or the psychic or anything like that, the first thing you have to do is set an intention, or you're not going to have much happen. So it's just something to think about.
Yeah. Well, I think there's wow, that's heavy actually, kind of. So with with the reactiveness of a space, that is the this is I'm going to turn the conversation slightly. This is what we talk about a lot with being a ghost hunter
Right,
versus a paranormal investigator. You're there for the pop and the scare and the chills that it gives you. That's the thrill of it.
right,
And therefore you're looking for that. Therefore you're going to have it regardless if it's real or not. Whatever may happen is that.
okay,
And that, real or not, that's just what you're going to call it. Whether it be environmental, physical, things like that are truly normal stuff, that we
right,
would normally try to debunk and take away, it's going to be automatic.
mm,
And and I'm not knocking that, and I never will knock that person or that intent, but it's just it's not what it's not what when I say we, it's not what I'm
right,
there for.
right,
And I think I can speak for you on this one as we
mhm,
work so long together. But in our team, even, we're trying to figure out the deeper dive to it. What is this? Is it really a paranormal thing instead of just a physical or environmental issue? That has nothing to do with intent, though.
right,
I mean, it does, but it's not the same as I think what you're looking at, as you're looking for in this conversation. But if you don't, you're right though. If you don't set an intention when you investigate, you're drifting, um,
right,
and that can't be bad in some ways, but it can't be good either.
right,
'Cause if you have no, and what's that? It's like going to the record store, without looking for something. You just start flipping through the albums, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, cool, look at this. I didn't know this existed. But if you're going looking for one band and one album specifically, you're walking to that section, that alphabet letter, and you're just pulling those down, and you're there. It is, go. I'm out.
right,
You know. So like going to a thrift store. If you don't go in looking for something, you can find everything, and that's probably a problem. Like going to the grocery store hungry, right? Something like that.
right,
So I get it, but I don't know that I've ever gone into an investigation with that intentionality in mind.
right.
So I'm curious there, like if that's
Or
if
or
that's
do
for
you,
others as well.
or do you because it's just ingrained in you as an investigator?
Maybe, and maybe that's the difference between the two. The hunter and the investigator part of it. Maybe that's it.
Right.
Um, you know,
So
I I hope something's going to happen. I have a desire to connect.
mm.
And I try to make that, I vocalize that, like I'm here to
so
communicate.
so
You
you
know,
that right there is your intent. So you
okay.
you
I just don't
create
think of it that way as like
right,
an actual effort, and like intention to me is effort,
right.
um, of some other way, and I just don't think of it like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I see your point.
So Bert has a question here, and I don't know if you
Ah, Bert, I saw this. I was waiting. So, The Count of Monte Cristo is a book by Alexander Dumas. It is a fictional novel based in France, and a very good one of my favorite books, actually, but it has nothing to do with this. Now, it might have something in the similarness of names, but also there's a Monte Cristo sandwich, too, so who knows? Um, which is a turkey sandwich dipped in batter and fried and delicious.
I was disappointed that you didn't provide Monte Cristo sandwiches for the episode, Jamie, but we'll let it slide this time.
Well, it's actually in the mail, so maybe if it's not there now. Okay, maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow.
I don't think I want it tomorrow.
You probably didn't want it today if I sent it. You know what I
Now,
mean?
if David were here with us, it would
It'd be
be
in the trunk. Yeah.
oh my, David,
Wow.
miss you, Dave.
It's not warm enough for trunk subs yet. Um, oh, yeah, now I'm getting the willies. Goodness. Yeah,
Um,
it's funny. We can walk around in haunted houses and all that stuff and do all these creepy things, but yeah, the idea of eating a sub that's been in the trunk all day, no.
so
Uh,
Heather says, I've gone into investigations hopeful and left disappointed.
okay.
So
Yeah, I
again,
get that.
and is hope, is hopeful, hopeful in setting intent. Like, there's just, a lot to think about here. So,
Yeah, I think that's why I don't. That's why I didn't guess connect this the way you were saying it, because if I do that, then I set an expectation that something's going to happen. When it doesn't, I do have that disappointment.
right.
The reality is that 99% of the time we walk around in the dark and talk to ourselves.
Yep.
I say this all the time. It's like a broken record, but that's the reality. And the 1% of times when something occurs, at least occurs enough that we experience it in the moment, which is rare. That's why it's the 1%. You know, it's a wow moment, and it drives forward the rest of, like, it motivates, and it just
Right.
makes you want to go further. It could have been at 5 in the morning, and you've been there for 7 hours already, and you're tired, but that energy just brings you back up quickly.
Hmm.
To go further, longer, and more experience.
West Virginia Penitentiary.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and many others along the way.
Uh-huh.
But that part of it is the wow moment.
Right.
And you can, though, and the reality for most investigators, when you go, and the problem here, and I say problem loosely, but the situation here is that we all go somewhere for one day, one night at a time, and we invest in that place as
Mhm.
well. We have to pay a ticket. If we're going someplace further away, we have to stay over. We're investing in the local economy with food and other things, entertainment while we're there, because you got to eat, all that stuff, and then you go there and you have zero experiences. It feels deflating sometimes, but the reality is nothing's on demand. No one's going to walk out of the wall and introduce themselves. And
Right.
again, I'm a broken record saying that, because I say it in investigations of our public events all the time, like to set the examples of, to set the expectation.
Hmm.
But if it might, it
Hmm.
might happen someday, maybe.
Right.
And therefore, if it does, I'm going to be the first in line to say, wow, that was so cool.
Right.
And have that moment with whatever presents itself. But
Right.
we piece together so many things, and that's part of the process of an investigation and the after event of review. And that's extensive in some cases because of all the equipment that's been running, whether it's audio, video, or whatnot. You got to review all of that stuff in its entirety in order to make sure you didn't miss something that you
Hmm.
happened to while you were there. So, you're not really done an investigation to say it was a dud or a bust, until you go through all of that.
Right.
That could take days or weeks in some cases, or if you like this voice recorder that's been sitting here on my desk for probably 2 months,
Yeah.
it could take a lot longer.
Yep. So catching up on a couple comments,
Yeah.
Bert said that 1% is what keeps us doing what we do.
Yes, sir. You're
It
right. I
is.
agree.
And yeah, and sometimes it's like West Virginia Penitentiary. That was a motivation for us. All of a sudden, something happened up in the cell blocks, and we were
Yeah.
like, "What was that?"
Wow. Yeah.
So, another comment from Bert: I didn't read the book, so I wasn't sure. I don't read books; it ruins the movie. And I'm sorry you were drinking when I read that.
Gosh.
Uh,
All right. I know what you're getting for Christmas.
And then Heather said, "You hear so much about certain locations, and they always seem to be the ones that you just walk around talking to yourself. I love investigating the smaller locations that surprise you with activity because you do not have any expectations."
That's fair. Yeah.
And part of this too, and I'm not knocking anybody. We've investigated with lots of people. It's the group that you're with sometimes, and the energy that that group brings to things.
Yeah.
Sometimes that group can be the same group, and you have different experiences depending how their day went. If somebody's bringing bad juju from
Yeah.
an experience at Walmart, you're gonna have a different experience.
Can you have a good experience at Walmart? Asking for a friend.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, you're right, or the energy they don't bring. Either way,
Right, exactly.
it kind of like the low energy, because again, we do this after doing stuff all day.
Right.
We're somewhere.
And
We
we've
get to these.
driven if we're going to something close, we've driven 2 or 3 hours
Yeah.
because we're not staying overnight. And
Yeah, exactly. And that's the toughness, in this process of how do you balance all of it out?
right,
You just hope for the best. I mean, you do your due diligence of grounding and centering, and trying to let the stuff go that was what's the burden of the day or the burdens of life in general. Try to let that stuff at the door. But it's really hard sometimes. And we all have. And I'm going to say this to go where I kind of wanted to go all along with this. But what the homestead means to me, and the one thing I took away from this is that grief and trauma are things that are very real in the world for people. And I think, in my opinion, this is Jamie Widener's opinion, that those two things coupled together are what ties people to locations after they're gone. It's a passion moment in a lot of ways, and passion doesn't always have to be like ecstasy passion. It could be burden. It's
right,
just a thing. But there is some strong reasoning for someone to stay at a location after they leave. And a lot of times it seems like, at least, it's tied to loss and grief and trauma.
hmm,
So in that, you turn that around to say that, if we are carrying those things too, as we are people, and, we've lost things, and, we've had things happen and so forth. Those are the things that maybe are drivers for the things that are at the spaces we go to, for the energy that they draw and the way they manifest to us. There's a parallel or likeness or
right,
likening in there somewhere, maybe.
right.
It's hard to say, and I'm theorizing on off the cuff here, but
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
see this happening a lot, and um, wow, what a thing if it
Yep.
is.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm starting to do more uh, listening to books about past life and lots of different things like that. And I'm forming some different opinions, which we'll go into at a different point. But it is about coming back to those points of tragedy and trauma. Um, no matter how you look at it, there's a reason to come back to that. And we
Right.
may not see it in this lifetime, but there's reasons to come back to visit that, to learn from that. So
Sure.
so yeah,
Yeah,
there's lots to dig into in this. Again, paranormal has so many doors.
it does, and very few walls.
Hmm.
So
So
Heather says strong emotions is strong energy, and that to me is something I say
right,
often as well. When I say where there's passion, there's energy, and where there's energy, there's activity.
yeah,
So I agree
yeah.
completely with that.
And she also, do you want to put up her other comment?
Oh, yeah. Note to self: do not go to Walmart before investigations. Yeah.
So
Although I tend to, so or Target or whatever is nearby. So
they're always handy. So
they are very convenient.
well,
Walmart has a really good peanut butter trail mix. So
yeah. So, well, Jamie, I'm going to say yes. I think there is definitely energy, all sorts of stuff here. So
yeah.
yeah, I would say that there is paranormal activity. It's, you know, I, I think there's something here. So,
Yeah,
um,
we're 175-ish years deep in the history of this home,
mm,
with a lot of people loving the place and a lot of good and bad things
right,
occurring within it and in it and around it.
right,
It's hard for me to believe it's not active as well.
right. And I know the Ryans are no longer with us, but I want to say thank you to the Ryans for taking the opportunity to restore this. Wherever you are, we appreciate it, because if you hadn't, this could be one of those houses that just disintegrated,
Yeah.
and it would be gone. Which
Or it
would be
went
cool.
by the way of a development of another thing happening in the space, because it's a prominent location. Where it's positioned again was very prominent back in the day.
Right.
So it could have been this could be literally a Walmart right now, without their preservation efforts
Hmm.
and the vision to give something back to all of us.
Yeah. It's definitely an interesting place. So, um,
All right. So we got to get a GoFundMe going.
yeah, I'm looking
Are
this up.
you registering us now? Is that what you're doing?
For 1.9 million Australian, this could be yours.
Hmm. I don't know what that. Let's do the conversion. All right. Oh, there's a comment here from Bird that it doesn't take death to haunt a house. It can also be the love. That's fair. Very fair.
Oh, you should have done this earlier, Jamie. There's actually a ground plan of this house in the real estate listing.
I went the wrong way with it.
So, and there's a lot of bedrooms in this house.
Yeah, it's huge. Well, they had 7 kids.
Yeah. So it's
Although they didn't have 7 kids when they built the house, so go figure, right? But
right. But there are a ton of bedrooms. It would make a great B&B.
there it is.
So, anyway,
All right.
one point one.
Side hustle Australian style.
Did you do the conversion?
No, I didn't. I didn't. It's okay.
It's still going to be a lot of money.
Yeah, it's still a lot of money. More money than I have.
Yeah. So when we get to that, buy me a coffee. So, anyway,
buy me a house instead.
Yeah. Enough room for the whole team. You're right, Bert.
Yeah.
Jamie, thank you for bringing this to us. It's one that I had never heard of again. So, now that we've gotten through the things that everybody's heard of, we're starting to find more interesting ones that it's like, oh, well, that's pretty cool.
Well, that's the point, right? There's just so many places everywhere, and to go back to the point about the large known locations, my coworker, a coworker of mine, had said this a couple years ago, and she said it to be very funny, and I laughed because I think it is. But we were looking at the newspaper in our break room. She had the obituary section open, and she said, "Oh, look, people are dying today. Have never died before." Right.
Right.
And haha, right? It's true, but it's haha.
Right.
But people have been dying for thousands of years, right? Yep. Millennial time and time out of hand, and that could mean that there's literally activity everywhere.
Right. Exactly.
And the joke here at my home is every time I go out in an investigation, I'm told not to bring anybody home with me, and I always say, "Well, that's right," because there's something already here. It gets a frown and
I was gonna say you get a look in that one, don't you?
Yeah, I get a look. I got to stop saying that. Might get a pillow on my head at night, but
Right.
But that you don't have to have a location that's prominent to have activity.
Right.
And Heather's point was really well made about the smaller location, the more subtle place, not the big thing. It's just you just have to take the time and do the intentionality of the process of an investigation and just sit and listen. And a lot of times things will open itself up to you.
Right.
And then you'll be very surprised and hopefully pleasantly surprised.
Right.
Never investigate your own home, first of all.
No, definitely. We all know that. Which is why my dad doesn't want me to investigate there.
But you're investigating his home. It's not him doing it. It's
right.
different, dude. It's different.
So,
all right. Yeah.
So, Bert threw up a
math for us. Okay.
Well, but that's pounds. The Australian dollar is 10 US dollars equals 13 to 14 Australian dollars.
Okay.
So 50 US dollars is about 70. So it's a little cheaper than 1.9.
It could do. We could say hey, you know what? Pennies are available now. We start saving them. Oh. Yeah. All right. There's a thing. So would you rather do a GoFundMe for the Monte Cristo Homestead, or would you rather do a GoFundMe for the Conjuring House?
Oh, I think the Monte Cristo. I think the Conjuring. The Conjuring House looks run down and doesn't look like a nice place. Whereas the Monte Cristo, I wouldn't want to live in the Conjuring House. You know what I mean?
Okay, maybe. I'm going to say I've been there.
Right.
And it's not. I mean, it has the appearance because it has wood. Right.
Yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Siding.
The wood siding, not vinyl. It's original looking and intent by that. Right. But inside the home, it's well maintained, it's well upkept. Right. I would live there. I could live there.
Okay. For 1.3 million US dollars, is what it works out to. I don't know, but
I would. Having been to the Conjuring House, I honestly didn't have a whole lot of experiences. We had some interesting things happen, and I have nothing against it, but Rhode Island's pretty cold in winter time. I'm sure New South Wales, Australia is pretty cold in the winter time too, but it sounds like it's going to be better.
Right.
So I'm going to Australia.
Bert said Monte Cristo if it was closer, but a 13+ hour flight is a bit much.
That's true. It's not a commuter kind of thing.
No.
Right.
So anyway, again, Jamie, thank you for bringing this to us. We've hit an hour already again.
Oh my.
And there were only two of us talking today, so
Yeah, we'd still be going. We'd still be long going if Kirstin were here. I wish she was. But we missed you. Hope you feel better.
But yeah, let's talk about what's coming up. Next week, Kirstin should be back with us. We're counting on that. We're going to be looking at the exorcism of Annalise Michel. So we'll see what Kirstin has to tell us about that. That could be interesting. This is one that I've heard of, but I don't know much about. Yep. She's listened to the tapes or the recordings, and she said she wishes she could find more. So I'm excited to hear what she has to say. Let's see. Past that, I'm going to be on May 5th. May already, Jamie. Can you believe it? Shadow on College Hill, the old hospital awakens. It's another one I'm looking forward to. Then Magnolia Plantation, Derry, Louisiana. I believe that's you, right?
It is.
And then From Folklore to Fear, Cryptids of the Celtic Lands. So we've got that. Then I'll be back up with Mount Vernon, Haunting the Home of Washington. And then Jamie in June, again, now we're talking about 2 months out. But it's not that far.
Right.
Mercy Brown, Vampire or Victim. This is interesting. I did a quick little investigation about what it's about, and it's like, oh, this is interesting.
This one's going to be fun. So, I'm looking forward to it. I won't say much to give it away between now and then, but yeah.
So, and Heather said they're gonna miss us for the next 2 episodes because they don't think they can stay up till 2 a.m. in Scotland. Just pretend it's an investigation, and so
they have alarm clocks.
So,
second sleep. It's a thing. Look it up. All right, fine. So, go be your worldly travelers that you are, and go have a lot of fun.
Yourselves, and we want reports on everything that you experience. So
exactly.
So other than that, you found us on Facebook or YouTube, or you probably found us on Spotify or one of our other streaming services. But if you want to learn more about us, check out the website let me start over, www.jot-nixparanormal.com. If you want to email us to tell us how well we did, how poorly we did, any of those things, show suggestions, you want to donate enough money to buy a jet. So however you want to tell us, whatever you want to tell us, hit us up at info@paranormal-lens.com. If you want to see all our socials, check out our store, anything like that. You can go to Linktree /paranormal lens. That's linktr.ee/paranormal lens. We've got all sorts of stuff there. And if you want to buy us a coffee to start pitching in towards that bus or that jet or whatever, it's Buy Me a Coffee.
Homestead.
Or Homestead. buymeacoffee.com/paranormal9. Or if you're seeing the screen, the QR code will take you there. But yeah, and those are all ways of reaching out to us. We'd love to have you interact. If you're listening to us on a streaming service, Facebook, YouTube, any of those, drop a comment. We get all those. We'd love to find out what you think. As Jamie said, give us a star or 5 or 10, whatever you think we've earned. We like the feedback. We like to hear what you're thinking. We'll do listener submissions if you offer them up to us. We'll just need some time to investigate them, but we will throw them in the schedule. And I know we're talking about some things in the future that are really interesting, so stay tuned.
Yep. And if anybody's out there who's been to the Monte Cristo Homestead, drop us a line too to say what was your experience like, and why were you there? Were you there as a tourist? Were you there investigating, or both, perhaps? Or whatnot. So we certainly love to hear that. that direct connection that folks have to these places. They're very cool. So if you've been there, done that, let us know.
Oh, Bert gave us our stars.
Aw, thanks, buddy. Checks in the mail.
So yeah, we appreciate all our listeners. So
Yeah.
we couldn't do this without you guys. Thank you so much for hanging in there with us. Jamie, you didn't mention it. This was episode what?
Oh my gosh, it's true. Tonight, 150th episode for Paranormal Lens. Can you believe that, Chad?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
You look good for your 150.
Oh, you too. Yeah.
We've gotten a little grayer since we started.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even have a beard when we started. That's how long this has been. But
So,
man, oh man, 150 down, 150 more to go. Who knows how many more? But
yeah.
again, thanks everybody for encouraging us to continue. The feedback we get, the interactions that we have, folks we see while we're out and about doing the stuff that we do. It always gives us the extra nudge to keep it going. So, not that we were ever looking to stop per se, but sometimes just like that extra, like, yeah, okay, cool. So, we appreciate everybody, and thank you so much for taking the time to join us along this journey.
Yeah.
More to come.
Well, lots more to come. So, all right. Well, if you don't have anything else, I'll wrap it up, and we'll see everybody next week.
Yep. Hey, everybody.
So, whether the stories are rooted in tragedy, imagination, or something that still lingers in those halls, Monte Cristo Homestead refuses to be forgotten. And maybe, just maybe, some of its residents haven't left at all. So until next time, stay alert, stay respectful, and stay curious. Good night, everybody.